I dropped out of high school when I was 18 years old. Really didn't see any point in being there. I was learning way faster than what anyone could actually teach, so I was so bored that I just checked out. My father decided to bring me onto the family furniture business. Thought I knew a whole bunch at 18 years old, cocky little young guy, and quickly realized that I didn't know a whole lot. My very first training was Dale Carnegie, and learned how to sell pretty quickly. In no time I was top of the class when it comes to selling extended warranties and mattresses. And it rose me up in the ranks within the franchise division for quite some time. 4 years into it, I started doing consulting work, just at the low level, a lot of training with sales and warranties and those types of things. And that really got my spark, my life together for what I wanted to do. I'd always envisioned helping other people. I wake up every single day excited to do that. Both my mom and dad were working nonstop. They worked in my grandfather's business, so the entrepreneur on top of entrepreneur. I got probably the greatest inspiration from my grandfather, who was an incredibly hardworking man and did everything he could to really grow his business, which was the furniture industry. My mother and father lived in that same space too, so I was mowing lawns and cleaning toilets and painting walls since I was a little kid, and it's just been part of my DNA. I joined the reserves when I was 17 years old, and I stayed in for about 4 years. Captain Bishop picked me out of the lineup one day on the range and had kind of identified me as somebody who was pretty solid with a rifle. This is back in the iron scope days. There was no such thing as scopes and all the nice equipment that they have nowadays. So he put me into a marksmanship training, and I eventually became a marksman. The very first thing that I did when I left high school was get a graduating diploma, and that's what got me into university 4 or 5 years later. When I applied to university as a mature student, they said, "Sure, you're going to have to take this math test." And I said, "Okay." And when I took the math test, the dean brings me in right after I'm done, has checked it and goes, "Well, this is basically the extent of what a person would do if they were just guessing at every answer. You just failed miserably, but you'll figure it out because you're a smart guy." And passed me through, and I was now a mature student at university. Working at the time in university, I moved out of sales for that period of time and went into all of the operations of the business, administration, payroll, warehouse, inventory management. Every single component I was getting into the weeds with, so I really got my university degree on steroids through that path. After my family sold their business, I stepped into an automotive dealership one day and they said, "Hey, you dress really nicely and you seem pretty smart. Do you want to be in our business office instead of the sales floor?" And I said, "Sure, what's that?" I had no idea what they were talking about. And as I went through that whole process, I started to learn the administrative side, the financial side of the business in automotive. And that propelled me into being a sales trainer for a company that did marketing for companies all across Canada at first. And then I became the #1 sales trainer in the company that we were with. There's about 273 trainers across the world, and I was in a number of different countries doing that, and that's what got me promoted to run the Australasia market. When I came back, I went to the Wizard Academy. The Wizard Academy is in Austin, Texas. Roy H. Williams started it 25 years ago, and Roy wanted to be able to teach people communication in a completely different way. So he brings in the concepts of physics and fine art and photography and how we communicate in the different ways that the brain perceives information. And that was quite literally life-changing for me in 2015. As I evolved through that process, by 2017, I was asked to become a partner and very, very happily stepped into it. It was really kind of the culmination of my life's work and desire to help people out and do something that was bigger than me and had purpose that aligned with my values. Most people see marketing as running ads and generating leads. They sometimes believe that they're going to put stuff on mass media and get a result by just saying it once or twice to the right people and that everyone's going to hear their message. The reality of marketing is that no one pays attention to any of that stuff and everyone's trying to ignore it as much as they possibly can. Great advertising is about the customer and their life and putting a story together that tells that story. Terrible advertising is about the company and what they offer. Customers are looking for somebody to follow, and you can't be followed unless you're going somewhere. What I've discovered in life is that there's 4 different types of people in this world. There's surfers, there's drifters, there's drowners, and there's navigators. And surfers are there for a good time, waiting to catch the next wave, and when the next wave doesn't come, they move on to the next place. And the drifters are really just floating around. They're really not contributing anything in any meaningful way. And then you have the professional drowners. These people have a problem for every solution. There's no way that they're going to let success define them in any way. And then there's navigators, which allows them to lead. And only then are we going to have the opportunity to be able to have people follow us. And that's where a lot of business owners stop, when in reality, they don't realize that there's an entire universe that sits above them that we can conquer. Today I spend my time building content and creating more master strategy around how we can drive businesses, creating new and unique things, iterating off of old ideas. It gives us the opportunity to really shine for our customers.